Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, welcome to the video. As you can see, more shoes. And the thing that I did is I finally, after quite some time, figured out how to do platforms, platform heels and platform wedges. And I will go in about some details about this in the video. Apologies, right now there will be infrequent pauses in between working in the video because I was also talking to a few friends on the site over Discord and other communication channels, so there will be infrequent breaks. Anyway, let's get into the topic of platforms. I will show you a few images, like right now, and these are showing what happens if you model a platform heel or a platform wedge or a wedge in general. The distortion on this is because of the weight mapping. So what I did is basically, before I actually made this video and this model, I played around with weight mapping quite a lot. I tested a few things. I reiterated on my 3D models so I could see if the weight felt better, and at the very end of the video, at the final part of the video, there is me showing the weight mapping or weight mapping editing, so that you can see how I actually managed this detail. But yeah, for now, these are the images where you see the actual weight mapping as it is before I edit it. This is on heels with the platform, and you can see the weight mapping is actually going over to the heel instead of the foot. So what I have to do in the end is I have to adjust exactly this weight mapping. I have to focus it on the heel and on the toe specifically. One thing that Genesis 2 does is all the toes have their own different weight mapping, which is why in my earlier renders a lot of times the foot or the shoe looks crunkled, because it is going for the weight mapping of the toes rather than for the single toes rather than all the toes. So Genesis 2 basically has the foot bone, a toe area, and all the toes are in that toe area but have single bones. So what I did is I changed the mapping to the toes as a group, which is a lot better in general than having it on the single toes. What I also managed to do is I converted some of my clothing to Genesis 8, and specifically the Hell Knight set that I made, so that a few friends or a friend of mine can use it for their own work. Took me quite some time to figure this out, because there are a few scripts out there that are supposed to convert these models, for example clothing, and what I can tell you is the following: these do not work on self-made products as far as I can tell. So I tried to convert the clothing that I made and it just doesn't work. So in the case you yourself want to try this or use this, don't. It does not work as intended. Yeah. So far for that. Right now you can see I'm working on the whole shoe here. The design is very simple, not that specific. The whole actually thing was about working with the heel, seeing how I can make that work with the heel, and I'm quite pleased with the result. You can see in the end that it is very even, actually, that it works very well. So I'm quite pleased with what I came out. There's be a little of a jump here, right there, because I set the recording to a pause when I imported the details, and then I forgot to unpause it until later. But yeah, I'm using the same old, or the same design editions that I used before. Still haven't taken the time to actually, make more of the runes. Most likely will do this rune set that I'm currently working with more, because I like them much more than the other ones. Though both have their benefits. Yeah, that's it basically for this piece. Took me about, I think, 2 hours all in all to finish this product, and was really fun working on. Fun side note to the thing I'm working on right now, the chains. This chain goes around the back of the shoe and around the heel, and one thing that you have to be careful about is when you do the weight mapping, that you do not touch these details, especially for example this chain. I had to be very careful not to touch, because if I did, it would completely crunkle and look really weird and create a lot of artifacts. So something to keep in mind with this is that you really watch what you're doing, especially if weight mapping, unless you want to completely break your model. Speaking of, I still haven't finished the weight mapping on the model that I made live, on the model with the candle thingies. Something I still should like look back into, but so I can actually use it in renders. But yeah, so far I didn't take the time. I want to do another video on the weekend, so this I did Friday evening instead of doing anything social. Yay! But yeah, was worth it. That said, I want to do another video on the weekend, most likely tomorrow, where I do the final Lords of Magic hero. This would be the Ranger of the Order, and I'll see if I get to it. I hope so, but yeah, no promises here. And that's it basically for this. You can see that I'm just adjusting the work on the heel a bit. It's still not perfect. There's still like weird crumbles and cuts in the whole thing, but overall it works quite well. Also, I decided on a whim to just copy the chain and do a second one, because I still found like, okay, this lags. And what I didn't do, what I later on thought, was I could have just taken all the chain pieces and thickened them a bit more so they actually stick out more. Seeing this on the final render, it works out though. So we're going into death, and you can see that, yeah, the whole thing is very morphed and as an artifact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the foot, go to the weight mapping, go to the, or adjust the sensitivity, and then go to the X rotation, which is the bend rotation. You can see that I'm basically repainting a lot of the foot here, especially on the lower side of the foot. And you can see that this actually, from the very crunkled, weird looking piece, it gets flat. It gets much better, like it is supposed to look. And what you can do is you can always just go back and forth between the toe and the foot on the weight mapping, and make sure that everything works out. Yeah, just be sure you don't touch the chain, or otherwise it's gonna get real messy. Luckily you can control Z to just go back a bit. And yeah, you can see that the toes actually have no weight mapping, because all the toes have their own weight mapping on this. And honestly, you don't want that, because it just crunkles up the whole thing and it creates artifacts, and it looks really weird. So be careful about that. Try to make that fix that as good as possible. And that's it for the whole thing. yeah, just make sure that everything is kind of evened out, that it looks quite well. Lastly, I will put on a texture so we can actually look at this in Iray vision. So grabbing the heel, the whole heel, grabbing the wedge, and then we can check this out in Iray, and it looks quite okay. So as always, thanks for watching. I hope this video helps you in your own endeavors. Enjoy the final render, and I will see you guys around.